Your simple company meetings or departmental meetings are clearly a way that you can engineer behaviors or engineer the how can you say the culture. And what we're looking for there is there's two concepts there. One is the range of behaviors, and the other is a concept that we call behavior modification. Because to get the effective change, you have to know where you're going, what result you would like in terms of behaviors. For example, your customer service reps would be motivated to do more than take orders. They would actually create sales. Behavior modification goes in little tiny steps. And at first you say, well, why bother? So when you're at your meeting this morning, you say, why bother with these little baby steps? You bother because what happens, there's a funny animal there, and it's called momentum. If you're at a standstill and you're in the status quo, then what your job as a catalyst, as a pioneer, as a improvement agent is to get that status quo moving. So I've had instances where I've had companies where they were just absolutely, the current status quo was so entrenched that I would go through a whole series of gyrations and crazy sorts of things to try to get that to move, or so that it could move. Because once you get that change, once you begin to get some activity there, and once it begins to move, then it's much easier to direct and get going. The real problem is if you get people that are really entrenched and just don't want to do it, or they don't see the need to do it, or they have to be convinced to do it, or browbeaten to do it. So you take these little baby steps and you don't try to go too far too fast. Certainly if you're meeting on a regular basis, you can each week introduce that little baby step or that little bit of that behavior modification. You want to get the ball rolling, you want to get that, and then once it's up and going, once you get the momentum going, then you can do some other things that are a little more how can I say, fun, and that really bring you to the result. But if you don't get that momentum, what happens is, I think maybe what has happened in the instance with your meetings is the employee sees these meetings as, well, they're just going to jump on me one more time. They want to get more work out of me, et cetera, et cetera. And that, I don't want to say it's counterproductive, but it's certainly not what you would call a motivator. Okay. So, when you're looking at changing a culture, looking at making those improvements, little tiny steps are critical. And you want to get that status quo sort of shaken up so that it can start to move. My sense is that you can make, depending on the circumstances, you can usually get results within 30 days. Certainly after 90 days, if you're focused on it, you can see significant results. Now, I don't want to say that's across the board, but in having done many, many different companies, I would say that's probably kind of a rule there. That if you wait, you got to be patient with it. But if you give it 30, 60, 90 days, then you can really begin to see the results. But the thing is, you can't give up. You can't get out and say, well, this is kind of frustrating to me. I don't see any results. All my employees are clowns and they're bores and they're stupid and they're not going to, that's, you can't do that. You have to make your mind up to do it, and then you have to follow through on it. And it's not, again, not rocket science, not something major. But that comes on your part because you set that example. So when you go into the meeting today, if it's, golly gee, what can we do to get you to do more work, then that may not get the result that you want.